Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're unlocking the cellular secrets of extending your health span and completely dominating your physical aging process. If you want to understand exactly how to train your body to live longer, function better, and operate with incredible metabolic efficiency, you are in exactly the right place.
But before we map out weekly workout routines and specific heart rate zones, I've got a pretty profound question for you. What single metric could literally alter your biological destiny? Is it your cholesterol, your blood pressure, maybe your muscle mass? Well, while all of those are absolutely crucial, the data actually points to one insanely powerful, modifiable predictor of all-cause mortality that stands head and shoulders above the rest.
And that metric is your VO2 max, basically your peak cardiorespiratory fitness. Get this, simply moving your VO2 max from the low category, meaning the bottom 25th percentile, up to just an above average category reduces your all-cause mortality risk by a staggering 70%. The data from major epidemiological studies is crystal clear here. There is literally no pill, no drug, no supplement on Earth that even comes close to that level of risk reduction. Moving right into Section 1, the Longevity Savings Account, where we look at investing in your physical capacity early. We really have to treat our physical capacity just like a financial savings account. Why? Well, because our VO2 max progressively plummets by about 10% every single decade after we hit 30. And brace yourself, because that decline can accelerate to up to 15% per decade after age 50. Aging, combined with sitting around, creates this vicious circle that totally tanks how your body delivers and uses oxygen. So you need to build a massive physiological buffer today so you can actually function independently in your 70s, 80s, and 90s. Section 2, the 4 Pillars of Longevity. This is Dr. Peter Attia's framework for what he calls the Centenarian Olympics. To break that vicious cycle of aging we just talked about, the clinical data points us to a highly structured exercise pyramid. The whole point of this framework is to prepare your body for those Centenarian Olympics, which is basically just being fully capable of doing all the physical tasks you actually want to do when you're older. So here are the 4 required pillars of that framework. First up, we've got stability. That's the absolute foundation to prevent injury, keeping you safe while you train. Second is strength, building up functional muscle mass to fight off age-related decline. Third is Zone 2, which is your aerobic efficiency. And finally, Zone 5, your anaerobic power. For this explainer, we're really zoning in on how to perfectly integrate those bottom 2 cardiovascular pillars. All right, Section 3, Zone 2, the mitochondrial engine and building the ultimate aerobic base. Let's tackle the most misunderstood pillar and see how it builds our cellular health literally from the ground up. You know, a lot of people just see Zone 2 as a recovery jog, but biologically speaking, it is so much more than that. It is the absolute bedrock of your metabolic health. The crucial thing to understand here is that Zone 2 isn't just about going slow. It's actually a precise metabolic state. It's defined by keeping your blood lactate completely under control. Specifically, it is the highest metabolic output you can sustain while keeping your lactate level strictly below 2 millimoles per liter. Practically, you can track this by noticing your breathing somewhat heavily, but you can still easily hold a conversation. And at this exact intensity, incredible things are happening inside your cells. Picture our little stick man here, just jogging along at a steady, easy, conversational pace. In this state, your slow-twitch muscle fibers are relying almost entirely on your mitochondria to efficiently burn fat for energy. It's basically the ultimate mitochondrial workout. When you train in Zone 2 for extended periods, ideally around 45 to 60 minutes a session, you're actually signaling your body to increase the size, the number, and the overall efficiency of your mitochondria. You are quite literally building a bigger, better fat-burning engine. Which brings us to Section 4, elevating your VO2 max and pushing the physiological ceiling. Because to hit that massive 70% mortality reduction we talked about earlier, Zone 2 alone isn't quite going to cut it. We have to push the absolute top ceiling of our fitness. Zone 2 builds the wide base of our fitness pyramid, right? But we absolutely need high-intensity training to build the peak. Think about the stark contrast between our cellular engines here. On the aerobic side, Zone 2 uses your mitochondria and oxidizes fat for steady, long-lasting energy. But then on the anaerobic side, Zone 5 relies on fast-twitch muscle fibers and glycolysis for quick energy. These two zones are biologically total opposites, but they complement each other perfectly when it comes to optimizing your overall cardiorespiratory health. Now watch what happens when our stickman starts sprinting with maximal exertion. Something dramatic shifts at the cellular level. When you go all out, your mitochondria literally get overwhelmed. They just cannot process oxygen fast enough to meet that massive, sudden energy demand. So what happens? Your body is urgently forced to bypass the mitochondria entirely and generate energy without oxygen. This process is called anaerobic glycolysis. And that extreme stress right there, that is exactly what forces your VO2 max ceiling to rise.
So how do we actually train this high-end system? Well, we look to the Norwegian 4x4 protocol. This happens to be Dr. Attia's preferred method for VO2 max improvement. It's brutally simple. 4 minutes of the absolute highest intensity sustained exercise you can manage, followed by 4 minutes of active recovery. And then you repeat that entire sequence 4 to 6 times. It takes roughly an hour with a warm-up. And let me tell you, when done right, this hurts. It's incredibly demanding, but the clinical payoff in elevating your VO2 max is absolutely massive.
Okay, Section 5, the golden rule of cardio, the biological trap you must avoid. Now pay close attention here because there is a massive biological trap that ruins the workouts of even super advanced athletes when they try to combine these two zones. If you're short on time and want to train both your Zone 2 aerobic base and your Zone 5 anaerobic peak in the exact same workout, the order in which you do them is biologically critical.
As leading researcher Dr. Iñigo San-Millán explains perfectly, lactate inhibits lipolysis. Basically, the lactic acid you produce during that high-intensity training actually decreases the activity of key enzymes, like CPT1 and CPD2. Think of those enzymes as the cellular doorways needed to transport fatty acids into the mitochondria. To put it simply, high lactate levels biochemically block your cells from burning fat. So what does this mean for you? It means you should never, ever do a Zone 5 sprint session before your Zone 2 cardio, period. If you spike your heart rate and flood your blood with lactate right at the beginning of your workout, that lactate is going to completely shut down your mitochondrial fat-burning engine for the rest of the session. You might genuinely think you're getting a great Zone 2 workout for the next hour, but biologically, your fat oxidation is totally blunted. Let's wrap it all up in Section 6, the ideal weekly protocol, putting this longevity masterclass in action. So, how do we translate all of this complex cellular biology into a highly actionable weekly routine? How do we balance stability, strength, Zone 2, and Zone 5 without triggering that dreaded lactate interference effect?
Well, check out this highly structured weekly schedule. It perfectly balances all 4 pillars. Notice how stability is baked into every single day as a warm-up. Super smart. We've got strength training sprinkled throughout the week to build that functional muscle mass. But look really closely at Saturday. We have 60 minutes of Zone 2, with the intense 30-minute Zone 5 intervals placed safely at the very end of the ride. By doing the high-intensity work last, you get a full hour of pristine mitochondrial fat burning, and then boom, you completely exhaust the system with sprints right before you hop off the bike. It's honestly a biological masterpiece.
I want to leave you with this final thought today. The science is incredibly clear. You actually have the power to functionally reverse your biological age, boost your mitochondria, and drastically reduce your mortality risk through precise, structured exercise. But look, a blueprint is totally useless if you don't actually build a house. The very first deposit in your longevity savings account has to happen today. So what do you say? Are you ready to start building?